Adele Alonso.
Sure.
Running for the COC Board of Trustees Area 2. I'll ask you the same questions. What are your expectations for the relationship between the city and the college?
Sure, and I think it's one that continues and is a good partnership we've had. I think it needs to continue, particularly with the use of the Performing Arts Center, with College of the Canyons, or with the football stadium, and in the fields and the facilities, because we have to rely on one another. And I think the city has numerous agreements with various school districts for joint use, and I think that that's something that we should continue. But to kind of expand on that, we're at a really interesting time in Santa Clarita's history. When you mentioned about new people running for the board, for the city council, but we're in, for the first time, since I was in elementary school, Mike Antonovich isn't going to be on the ballot for county supervisor. So we're going to have a new supervisor. We're going to have a new state assembly member. We're going to have one new state senator. You have another state senate seat, the congressional seat. There is a lot. Santa Clarita is kind of ground zero for political activity, in LA County, and so there could be significant change. And what goes along with that is, the fact that we're having a city council race, that consolidated with a presidential election. This is the first time that's happened in the city's history. So you're going to see a much different turnout dynamic with many races. So it's an interesting time to be part of Santa Clarita, and to be in the kind of in the arena, so to speak, because there could be an opportunity for a lot of change, and with that change does bring opportunity, fresh ideas. So I thought I had 15 minutes. I can't just answer that question for 15 minutes.
No. Minute and a half.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
My name is Annette Lucas, and I live in Newhall. And Cameron, I'm going to read this to you because I'm really nervous. You have many accolades on the internet, but my question tonight is about transparency. Are you a local businessman, as your campaign statement states, or are you the Associate Vice President of State Affairs for the Fortune 500 Molina Healthcare, which operates in 15 states? In other words, are you a lobbyist?
So before I answer that question, I think we need to identify that Ms. Lucas is also the treasurer for Mr. Boydston's campaign. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so I'll answer your question, but as I saw the guidelines that no candidate or candidate staff, should be allowed to ask questions. I'll answer it, but I just want to, if we're going to talk about transparency, let's be transparent, and that you are the treasurer of Mr. Boydston's.
I am.
Did you identify yourself as such?
No.
Thank you.
No.
So I'm happy to answer your question.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
I work, my title that you read for Molina Healthcare is correct.
Okay.
Am I a lobbyist? That answer is no. The state, the federal government, the city council even has very specific guidelines for what constitutes a lobbyist. I do not meet any of those guidelines. I have done no more than, if Mr. Boydston goes and speaks in Sacramento or Washington, D.C. on an issue, that is more lobbying actually than I do. So yes, I work for a healthcare company that provides healthcare to low-income moms and kids, and I support that effort, and I'm proud to do it.
Okay.
I can only say when your ballot designation, you're allowed 3 words. So I use the 3 words. I am a business person.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cam Noltemeyer, back with the same question. Very concerned about not becoming the Valley of the Dumps. And I would like to know what your position as a city council members, if you are elected, would be to support the people down in Val Verde in Castaic area that are saying, you promised us, you made an agreement, close it down. Let the decision as to what has to be done after that up to the trash companies. I want to see the city council actually take a formal vote on this and say what their position is. Would you support that?
So I would absolutely support a if you want to say a hearing or a study session, for the council to, get the information, because I, have not been on the council, so I would like to, get the information from both sides. But I don't think I would be on board with saying, let's close it and then figure it out. What we're going to do with the trash. I think we have to have a solution in place. Is there an alternative? I think, as Mark said, that you have an alternative place where it's going to go, because you can't just, say, okay, we're going to cap it, we're going to shut it down, because then it becomes another issue. And so, the trash has to go somewhere. I agree that, the residents there who live near, the facility should be given up-to-date, to the minute, information. Words should be honored. Contracts should be met. But to say today that I would say we should close it and then figure it out, I'd rather kind of go the other way so that there is a solution, an alternative offered.
Well, they've had all these years to determine that.
I think he's answered your question. Thank you.
What I'm bringing up is that it isn't up to the city to make that decision. I just don't want to see them selling out like they did last time for whatever reason. And right now, the county has gone in the back room.
Sure, and
extended it.
No, and I understand
Time's
what you're
up
saying.
on the question. Thank you.
Sure, I understand what you're saying.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rhonda Baldwin Kennedy, and I'm also running for College of the Canyons Board of Trustees Area 2.
Sure.
My question to you is, I saw your passion with the one question that you had. Will you bring that same passion and negotiations when representing the people of Santa Clarita?
Thank you for asking that question, because it kind of speaks to some of the questions I've been asked previously about, my motivation or my desire for running. And, like I said, after I left the legislature, I did so, and I'll be very honest, I left the legislature because I was really missing out on my family. I have 3 young kids. My oldest is in 7th grade. My daughter was born when I was in the legislature, and I miss a lot of things. And so when I came home, I didn't leave because I was done serving or I didn't have a heart for it. I left because I needed to be home. I needed to be a dad. I needed to be a husband. And for the last 4 years, I've really enjoyed being able to do that. And I've found my job in the private sector, which I also have a passion for. And so coming back to Santa Clarita, is where my heart is. This is my hometown. I was born and raised here. I'm raising my family here. And I provide a little different perspective, I think, than that's missing from the council. And I've said this before that 60% of the city is 45 and under. And that's a direct result of all of the families that we have here. And I think that having someone on at least one member of the city council who's kind of living that daily life that most residents are experiencing, I think provides a perspective, that's needed. It doesn't mean that other perspectives aren't needed or mine's the only one, but I think we should have, more, diversity of thought on the council. So to answer your question, yes, I'm very passionate about this and I'm excited to come back.
Okay. Part of my question was too, as well as
Time. Thank you.
I didn't actually finish my question the first time.
You asked him a question. You can ask again if you like.
So just take Lynn's going to.
We don't do 2 parts.
I
Thank you.
My name's Lynn Planbeck, and I'm running for Castaic Lake Water Agency,
Hello.
which you probably know. And I'm going to add a little bit to the discussion about the dump, because I don't know if you're aware that there was an agreement made with the landfill operators and the community that the dump would close in 20 years. They had 20 years to think up a closure committee plan. They did nothing. And what do you think about a county that then, when they reach the 23 million tons, has a secret backroom clean hands waiver to allow the landfill to stay open when they never in 20 years did a closure plan? And are you, in addition, aware that methane from landfills is the 2nd largest polluter after Porter Ranch? It's really horrendous, and the governor has just voted to start to do more regulation on it. But I want you to be aware. I want to know what you think of the county just going just, okay, now they've reached it, we're not going to pay attention anymore, we're not going to abide by our agreement.
Right, and it speaks to some of the reasons why we chose to become a city, right, is the county makes the decision and we're left with very little recourse. When I was in the assembly, my district also encompassed the Sunshine Canyon landfill as well. And so I'm very familiar with the impacts it has on a community. And so, as I mentioned earlier, there is an opportunity. We're going to have a new county supervisor that is going to be, I hope and I believe will be different than her predecessor, that allows for this type of dialogue when it comes to Chiquita, when it comes to annexation, other issues that impact the city and county, to have a fresh look and a fresh opportunity to tackle that. Because I think we do have this opportunity, but it doesn't come around very often, so we have a chance, we should take advantage of it.
Hi, Cameron. Nice to meet you. My name is Mike Oliveri.
Yes.
I've been wanting to meet you for years now. My question is I have a feeling you do work for somebody, because on your California 640 forms, you have over $80,000 contributed to your campaign from special interest groups, including Arthur Sahikian, who's appointed by our council. He's a known lobbyist. Indian gambling groups. So my question is I was against Measure S, and you stepped in out of nowhere, and you have children like I do, but you were for Measure S, knowing that they would have alcohol ads, gambling ads, all kinds of ads I don't think would be proper in front of an elementary school. So my question is how do you explain all these $80,000 in contributions to a local campaign?
Sure. So I've been fortunate in my years in the legislature, to make a lot of friends who were willing to support me, after I had left the legislature, and support me for the city council race. And what's not listed there, and that's fine, are the many dozens of donations that are under $100 from residents who support me just as much. And I recognize that those are the ones that are public, and I own that, and I don't shy away from it. The issue of fundraising too is, it's a necessary evil. With one of the downsides of changing the election to November is you're looking at, instead of a 15% voter turnout, we're going to be pushing north of 70%, in a presidential general election year. And so all of the candidates are, challenged by, how do you get your message out? And so, I am not independently wealthy, so I can't write my own check. I don't have any independent expenditures, dropping in to spend money on my behalf. So, all of us that are running, make the choice of how we're going to get the message out. And, fundraising is a component of it. And I was, willing to call friends of mine from all over California. I have contributions from friends out of state as well, who are willing to support me. And that's just kind of part of the deal. None of us like making calls for fundraising, but
Thank you.
It's, sadly a part of the game, that we're in politics right now.
Got a chance for one more question, if it's quick.
Okay, do you think there should be an auditor general that would report directly to the city council?
So it's an interesting question, and it's one that's been brought up in previous debates around the embezzlement at City Hall. And I think what concerns me about the embezzlement is it says $500,000, but that's all that that we can track, as I understand it. Many times embezzlement cases are much greater, but they're only prosecuted on what they're able to track. So the answer is yes. There should be an auditor, but it's kind of a catch-22, because if you have an auditor that still reports directly to the council, there still can be influence. Because look, if you're sitting on the city council and having $500,000 embezzled, that's not news you really want to. That doesn't make us awesome town. And for me as a former council member, that was I think for all of us, right? It was kind of a punch in the gut, because that's not supposed to happen in Santa Clarita. That happens in other cities. That doesn't happen here, but it did. And so because of that, it is a changing landscape. So I think having somebody independent who at least is reporting directly to the council, because then at least they're reporting to someone who's accountable to the public. Having an auditor that's reporting to staff doesn't give the public that degree of accountability, being able to hold the council accountable. I know I'm using that word a lot, accountable, but that's all I can think of at the moment. But so that's my point. So yes, it gives the public a better certainty of transparency.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.